just the frames. Got keys to kingdom, unlocking chains. Sober the podcast, open up your brains. Sober the podcast, let's get it, man.
Welcome back to Season 4 of Sober the Podcast with your host, Bradley Saxon, and your co-host, C. Jizzle Carlton.
Yo, what up, babe?
Michael Jordan LeBron James.
Labrin James.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Back in the laboratory as we have been taking this journey didactically. Look that word up. It'll
Yes.
add to your vocabulary.
Yeah.
Walking didactically through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is a tool that has been the thing that in God's hands has
Yes.
revolutionized our life.
Yes.
And so we feel like expounding upon each principle, really our main objective when we sponsor guys or as we help people through the Bridge Center is to give them a working knowledge of the
Yes.
12 steps,
That's
right?
it. Yep.
Not to do it for them,
Yep.
right? But to give them a working knowledge so that they can apply these principles to their problems and recover like we have.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And continue to maintain that spiritual condition through work and self-sacrifice
Yeah.
for the service of others.
That's right, man.
And so we haven't really gotten far. And at this juncture, if you're tuning in and have not listened to the prior episodes, I'd highly encourage you to go
Check 'em
back and check them out
Yeah.
because we're just sort of taking our
Take our time, man.
time. We're on step 3.
Yep.
We, breezed over it in the last episode, but I think there's so much on page 60, 61,
Yes.
62, and 63 of the big book
Yes.
before getting into the 4th step that I think needs to be talked about so that we can understand what we're turning over in step
Yes.
4,
Yes.
And so I think we mentioned a little bit about the word self.
Yep.
Because this is where we find in step 3, the spiritual malady
Yes.
is given its name.
Yes.
And I really think it's the only time in the first 60 pages
Yep, 60.
that the book mentions the spiritual aspect of the
Yep.
illness, right?
Yes.
Because the first 2 steps are concerning the mental obsession and
Yep.
the allergy of the body.
Yep.
We're trying not to lead with the chin of telling people they need God.
That's
We're
right.
trying to help them understand the problem, which leads them to the solution, which is
Yes.
God, right?
Yes.
I found it a lot easier if you can get a man to fully concede to his innermost self that
Yeah.
he has alcoholism, which is lack of power. That problem always delivers him to the fact that he needs
Yes.
power, and that power is God.
Yeah.
And the big book says, may you find him now.
That's it.
I found that more people have a better chance of, establishing a personal relationship with God by doing that.
Yeah.
And so that's really what the purpose of step 1 is
Yeah.
to identify the problem concerning alcoholism,
Yes.
which is the illness of the mind and the illness of the body.
Yeah.
Right, which we know as symptoms, but in the
Yeah.
beginning, it's important to understand that because that part of the illness is incurable.
And in the beginning, too, I thought that was the main issue. Like, truthfully, I thought that I get drugs and alcohol out of my life, I'm going to be good.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think all of us think that. And I
Yeah.
think what a good sponsor does is begins to plug the holes in the dam.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Well, and I mean, how about starting with a man where he's at?
That's it.
My greatest confusion over the years of really trying to establish a relationship with God is, just not being self-aware, not understanding the flesh,
Yep.
not understanding how the things within me
Yeah.
could pull me away
Yeah.
from God.
Yep.
And just really never having someone to walk with me each day to
Yeah.
help me to grow at my own pace.
Yeah.
Because I do think there are people that have like burning bush experiences.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Bill Wilson was one of them.
He was.
But if you read in the back of the book, the spiritual experience, it talks about majority of people have a educational variety spiritual experience or
Gradual.
awakening that happens over time.
Gradual.
And those are the people that we have to understand that is on a path that is equally is authentic.
That's right.
As potentially somebody that at an altar or in a moment gets changed and doesn't struggle with those things, So I think that both are equally authentic, and I think both of those paths God has used to glorify himself and to bring others to him.
Yes, he has.
You know, but I think that what you establish in step one is just this understanding of, I have an illness.
Yeah.
It's progressive. It's fatal.
Yep.
And it ain't going away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we've talked in prior episodes of the controversy of people identifying as alcoholic and addict, and that you have a group that when they get saved don't call themselves addicts.
Right.
And then you have a group of people who identify as an addict for the rest of their life. And I think that, you know, I'm not saying either is wrong.
Yeah.
You know, for us, we understand alcoholism as an illness of the mind and body.
Yeah.
That no matter us getting saved, becoming new creations, that we can still be deceived, believe the lie.
Yep.
And if we try to drink alcohol, the fact is even if I've been saved for 10 years, I'm going to pick back up where I would have been had I never stopped.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
so
dude.
it's not that I call myself alcoholic in a way to, you know, stricken me with guilt and shame of the past. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I just know without a shadow of a doubt that when I get saved, problems don't stop.
Yeah.
Emotional problems don't stop. Conflict don't stop. Things going my way happen often.
Yep.
And so I need to know that if I try to drink alcohol or use drugs over those problems, that something happens in me that doesn't happen in normal people.
Yep.
And that allergy of the body ensures me death.
Yes.
So,
every time.
you know, that's why I identify as an addict and alcoholic.
Yep.
There's nothing in my spirit that feels guilty or shameful of saying that. I don't, when I say that, think of the people I've hurt and the things I've stole.
Yeah.
I just simply think of the fact that I know I can never safely use drugs and alcohol in any shape, form, or fashion.
That's it, man.
And so that's what step one established for me, which brought me to the fact that I needed God's help because I could not drink.
Yeah.
Right? No matter how much I wanted to, I couldn't stay stopped. And when I did believe the lie and I drank, I couldn't control it.
Yeah.
That really helped me to establish the problem and solution in step 1 and 2. But those are just statements, right? What I needed was action.
Yes.
Which brings us to step 3, which is made a decision.
Yes.
And we talked about this. We talked about the 3 frogs on the log,
Yep.
right? If 2 decide to jump off, how many's there?
Yep.
2.
Nope.
2. If 3 frogs are on a log, 2 decides to jump off, there's what?
The logical answer is
2.
2.
Right?
Logical.
Yeah, but here's the thing. No, actually, the logical answer is 1.
Yeah. Yeah, 1.
Yeah, if 3 are on, 2 decide to jump off. Most people say 1. Why?
Yeah.
Because they decided to jump.
Yep.
But here's what I've learned through my experience is a decision is not defined by what I say.
Yeah.
Right? A decision is defined by what I do.
Yes.
You feel me?
Yes.
And so there's still 3 frogs on the log because you don't know that they've jumped until they jump, you know?
Man.
And so there's your action between steps 3 and 4.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Made a decision to turn
Yes.
my will and life over to the care of God as we understood him.
Yep.
2 being the most important word in that.
Yes.
In an unabridged dictionary, it means to begin.
Yes.
We're not turning our will and life over in 3.
Yep.
We're making a beginning.
Making a decision to do it. Yep.
So let's talk about this 4-letter word self. You know, we're so far ahead
Yeah.
on this journey that we're having to try to recap.
Yeah.
And listen to
That's
where we
important.
are so that we don't miss something.
That's important.
And so we understand this word self being God-given.
Yep.
Therefore what?
Good.
Good.
Yep.
This is very important. When people think of the word self, I think they think of it being icky,
Yeah.
bad.
Yep.
But in actuality, without self, you do not have life.
Nope.
Because everything is traced back to these
Yep.
instincts that make up self.
Yep.
It is the thing that we pursue. The reward of those instincts is what people pursue that they
Yes.
call life.
Yes.
And the problem that makes people think it's icky is because when we were born dead on arrival, apart from God, we were left to try to manage these instincts.
Yes.
Right?
And we did.
And we did
Horribly.
very poorly.
Horribly for a long time.
But we find that this is where you could trace all of our human problems back to this 4-letter word.
Yes.
But it's imperative that people know that self is God-given, therefore good.
Yes.
Made up of 3 basic instincts, sexual, security,
Social.
and social.
Yep.
Which is personal relationships, right? emotional security, financial security, and then obviously sex concerning intimate relationships. And these things have been given to us by God. The want to reproduce, the want to have intimacy, the want to have relationships, the want to be to be favorably seen in the sight of, all these things are things that God gave us. It's just we never knew that only God can meet it. And we've looked to people, places, and things to do it, which is really what's broken our soul. You know what I mean? It's really misdirected our instincts and has started causing problems that we have turned to alcohol and drugs to minimize.
To fix.
Right? But what's happened is our alcohol and drug use have gotten worse over the years, and our problems have not been solved, and we're in a heck of a fix.
And the big book says our problems pile up, and they seem like they're
astonishingly hard to solve.
Astonishingly difficult to solve. So then we never start. We never even try to start.
No, but our alcoholism progressed as far as chemical use to the point where we quit trying to solve problems. We're just trying to live in our own skin without wanting to kill ourselves. Right?
Each and every day.
Right? So what we see in going into the third step on page 60 is we see a statement that says when the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. So now we're starting to find the mental and physical is a symptom of the spiritual malady, which is the root of the trouble. What is a spiritual malady? Malady means sickness. I've got this sickness of, it's really sin.
It is sin.
It separated me from my Creator, right? And it's left me with needs that I have now become the person that has to find a way to meet them.
You become the meter of them. But it's also me trying to do God's job for him my whole life.
Yeah, you try to play God.
Which has created the unmanageability of what step one is talking about.
Well, it's funny because we don't, I had no recollection of these statements prior to coming to AA.
Right.
I didn't ever say I'm playing God.
Right.
It was pretty normal to me to get up and do whatever I wanted to in order to be okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't really know you're selfish until somebody helps you see that. Because it's really hard for self to see self. Like, that's why these guys come here and they just think if they can get the drinking and drugging out, they'll be fine. I don't know that they even think in the depth of, I'm a selfish person.
No, dude.
I wasn't introduced to that until I got into AA. To understand that selfishness and self-centeredness is the problem. Right? Not alcohol and drugs. And so many of us, based on a lack of knowledge of the problem, spend our life using Christianity or God to patch wounds. To keep face, to save face, to I don't know what we use it for,
it's just,
but it doesn't have the power to change my heart.
That's right. And it just continues to try to I continue to play God. I keep meeting those instincts apart from him. You say it, I'm saving face. What are you saving? You're saving you're saving this false perception of what you believe other people think about you.
What is that called?
You couldn't know what other people think about you. You don't know what you think about you.
Yeah, but that's pride.
Right.
And it's
instinct.
It's a wrong pride.
Yes.
Because I do think there is a pride.
There is a healthy pride.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a healthy pride. Yes. But this pride that we live with of I'm willing to adopt dishonesty as a lifestyle so that I can continue to be favorably seen in the light of my peers so that I can get the reward from the social instinct is very wrong. And it causes you to be in collision with something or somebody all the time, right? Which continues to keep you bitter and fearful and jealous and envious. And dude, there's no way a man in his soul can be healthy when he's experiencing all those different emotions.
And I think one of the overarching things that it does is it keeps you in constant comparison with other people's lives, which is the ultimate thief of joy.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
Well, and you can't experience joy and set your mind on the flesh.
Nope.
Why? Because they both produce fruit. And the one that, both the flesh and the spirit have desires, appetites, and passions. And the one that grows is the one that you set your mind on. Right? So it's kind of hard to have joy and dibble and dabble in self-seeking, selfishness, right? Like, we've got to be able to surrender these character defects be uncomfortable,
Yeah.
work the principles, and afford the spirit my mind so that it can grow and produce its fruit.
Yeah.
Right? Because the flesh has fruit too.
Yes, it does.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like they don't mingle. Light and darkness don't mingle. Right?
And they're always in opposition to each other. And I think a lot of times when guys get sober, in the sense of not drinking and using, they think that the battle's over. When in fact, man, whenever I try to stop doing something, that's when the real conflict starts to take place.
Yeah, for sure.
Because my flesh is saying, no, we are gonna do that. And if I don't turn my will and life over to God, then I have no help against that opposition.
Yeah.
I have no power to fight that battle.
Yeah.
And I always lose. And I go back to drinking and using. I go back to dysfunctional relationships. I go back to meeting these instincts with women. Or if I'm a woman, I go back to meeting these instincts with men. And I notice that there's patterns in my life. And no matter how bad I hurt them or they hurt me, I throw them away and I go find me another. And it's never going to be enough. It's never going to fill that gap because the flesh is an endless hole.
Right.
Like, you're never going to be able to satisfy that because the only thing that can satisfy us is the Spirit.
Yeah. So it's important that we talk about this 4-letter word self, because going into the 4th step, this is really what we're inventorying.
Yes.
We're trying to find out about these instincts and some of the mindsets that's been established through self-will that we have to put to death.
Yes.
Because if we keep agreeing with the flesh and what it wants to do, we're going to keep birth and destruction.
And it brings death.
And it brings death.
Spiritually.
Yes. Emotionally.
Yes.
And mentally.
Yeah.
And so I love the way that the 12-step process is established, because you know, it teaches me that while I am on a mission of God discovery, I'm equally on a mission of self-discovery, because over-reliance upon self blocks me from God.
Yes.
And so if I don't know how I over-rely upon self, then I never get this intimate relationship with God, because I'm the one that's always in the way.
Yes.
Right? And so I have to learn how to quiet my soul so that I can hear God's voice, right?
Yeah.
And it's my soul that's screaming because I'm so used of a lifestyle that I go to very, everything that I did was done on a instant gratification basis.
Yes.
Liquor was good because I could take a shot of Everclear and be there now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It made me present now.
Yes.
Or if I, whatever the case may be, it was something that would, in my mind, take me out of myself right now.
Make me okay.
Right?
Yep.
And so we're at this juncture of step 3 to where we may not have the power to choose not to drink because of the obsession. But what step 3 is affording us is that now recovery, based on what we're learning, is a choice.
Yes, it is.
And so now we're at a turning point.
Yep.
We can either continue to blot out the consciousness of our intolerable situation as best we know how and pursue the illness to the bitter end, or now that we've been put into a circle at a table with people that are where we want to be, that are setting a kit of spiritual tools at our feet. Now we have a choice, and the choice is not to drink. The choice is pick up the kit of spiritual tools, lay at my feet.
Get
right?
to work.
And so I feel if anybody is still struggling with addiction that's listening to this podcast, one of the things that is starting to happen in your life as you listen consistently is that God is stripping you of excuses to why you can continue to justify the life that you're living.
Yes.
Because when you get knowledge and start to understand some of this stuff, then you start to be held responsible for it.
Yes.
And you have to do something with it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right, bro. So you read the 3 pertinent ideas, I think, in the last episode.
I think,
we talk about being an alcoholic could not manage your life. No human power could leave our alcoholism, but God could and would if he saw,
he
right?
would. Yeah.
And this is being convinced of those 3 pertinent ideas. We were at step 3.
Yep.
Like, dude, it's no need to go forward in step 3 if you're not convinced.
God, I say that consistently.
I mean, the word convinced here is a very powerful word.
Yes, it is.
Like, being convinced changes something.
Yeah.
If I'm convinced there's a burglar going on, like a robber in my house, like I'm taking action.
Yes.
Like I'm not just going to lay there and hope that they go away.
Yep.
Like I'm either getting up and hiding. I'm trying to grab a bat, maybe getting the blicky, maybe getting that 1923 revolver with no bullets in it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. It's important that we read that word, being convinced.
Yeah.
We were at step 3. Are you convinced your alcoholic could not manage your life? Are you convinced that no human power could relieve your alcoholism and that God could and would if he was Saul, right?
Yeah.
This was what brought us to step 3, which is that we decided to turn our will and life over to God as we understood him. And I love the fact that they just don't leave you there to, like, because now we're in let's see how it works. We're in the 5th chapter.
Yep.
And now we're heavily talking about God.
Yep.
We're talking about God could have, would if he saw. And we're talking about if we can turn our will and life over to God, we understood it. And I'm grateful at that moment he didn't leave me to my own devices to determine what that was, because even as someone that been drugged to church, heard the word God, been around the spiritual aspects and seen many things, I still didn't know how to apply that to my life.
Nope.
And here is this next sentence. Just what do we mean by that, and just what do we do?
Dang. Well,
I mean, great. If I keep reading it, answers my question, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we talk about this, because listen to what it says directly after that question. The first requirement
is that we be
convinced
that any life
run on self-will can hardly be a success.
God, dang.
Like this is very important.
That has to be a revelation, man.
Well, here's the truth, man. Like, this is a bigger blow, I feel, to the alcoholic and addict than step 1.
Yes.
Because step 1's telling me I can't drink alcohol, right?
Yeah.
Step 1's telling me I can't not drink alcohol. Okay, I got to surrender my alcohol drinking and drug use. But you get to step 3, and now you're talking about turning over control, not of alcohol and drugs, but of management of my relationships, of my time, of my life, what I do with my money. Like, you're starting to talk about giving up something that I feel is a lot harder to give up than the drugs.
Yes.
And so this is where you hear people in church talk about, you want enough Jesus to get to heaven, but you don't want enough of Jesus to change.
Yeah.
Which means I want to be saved to go to heaven, but I don't want him to be the manager of my life. I don't want him to be my Lord.
Good luck.
And so here's what I'm telling you. This is where the rubber meets the road, is when I come under the authority of God and start to allow him to direct my thinking, my will, my emotions, and start to use me for his purpose.
For his good pleasure. That's it, man.
So you got the first requirement. Like,
first.
Siri, define requirement.
Requirement means a thing that is needed or wanted.
I love that.
Okay.
A thing that is needed. Here's the bigger one. Wanted.
Yeah.
Like, that's a desire, right? And so the first desire is that you be convinced. You've got to be convinced that moving into this, my sobriety, my long-term emotional sobriety is dependent upon me surrendering my selfishness and self-centeredness and turning that into selflessness and God-centeredness.
But you said it, emotional sobriety.
Yeah.
That's so key, man, because when we show up in these rooms, we have this, every human has an emotional barometer. And if you're anything like me, that emotional barometer is filled all the way to the top. Most of the time, like, I have trouble with
it's stuck.
I have trouble with anger, I have trouble with fear, which is an emotion. I have trouble with depression. I have trouble with this, man, because all of these things are depressed or repressed on the inside of my soul. I've never taken a look at it. And really what I'm saying, man, is if I want to move forward, I got to get this out of me. Like, this has to come up and it has to come out of me. And that's what we're moving towards. But you're talking about emotional sobriety. Like, I've been sober for a long time now, not drinking and using. But more importantly than that, I'm emotionally more mature than I was then. Because what a lot of people don't know is that the moment you start drinking and using, you stop growing emotionally.
Yeah.
You stop.
Well, so depress it.
Yes.
And it takes away those feelings.
But it stunts you.
Yeah.
I remember my daddy always saying, don't drink coffee, it's going to stunt your growth. I wish you would have said, don't drink liquor because you're gonna stop growing as a human being internally.
Yeah.
You know,
like growing in stature is one thing, but growing as emotional and mental. I mean, dude, let's think about that's that's the greatest trouble. That I mean, that is what led us to alcoholism.
Yes.
Is the pinning up of emotions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
No, there's no doubt.
Because then we act like a kid.
That's why Cain killed Abel.
Yeah.
Emotions. Yeah, man.
Mad.
We just keep going. We just.
All right. On the basis of self-will, meaning I'm the director of my life.
Yes.
I'm almost always in collision with something or somebody, even though our motives are good.
I love always. Like, I love how he puts one word and then he puts the other. Like, almost always.
Well, and why are we reading this? Because you can't really see self.
Nope.
But this is a good description of what you're looking for.
Yes, it is.
You might not be able to see self, but you can see its common manifestations. Yeah. And it's clear that I know when I'm always in collision with something or somebody that I am the problem and that I am in self-will.
Yes. Every single time.
How many people that love God are in collision with something or somebody but uses God to justify this situation and never takes a look in the mirror in an inventory to heal what it is that keeps getting them in these same situations over and 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 over again, bro. Man. Like, there's no way to do ministry for a lifetime if I continue to always point the blame, which is resentment, that this person is at fault.
Yeah.
While every conflict is two-sided, the only thing that I can do is look at where I was to blame because that's what affords me emotional health that helps me the next time I get into these situations. But there's a reason why people keep ending up in the same conflicts time after time. And it ain't because people are out to get you. It ain't because you've been given the short. No, it's because there's something in you that has never been addressed that keeps getting you in conflict with the same people. And until you address it in you, you're going to keep having the same situation in different seasons with different people.
You know what the worst kind of pride is? The worst kind of pride is thinking that you're right every time. I'm right. I'm right. Well, if you're always right, then that means everybody else is wrong.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. If you've ever truly adopted this 12-step program, there's no way that you can live your life in any scenario and be justified in your anger.
Nope.
You know why? Because this program taught me that every time some kind of conflict happens, that the problem is within me.
Yeah.
And if I don't look in me to why I'm disturbed or why I reacted that way, that person's going to rent space in my head, and he's going to do it for free, and I'm going to end up drinking poison, hoping he dies. And people like me will go preach and drink liquor.
Yeah. No trouble.
Come on, somebody.
No trouble.
Like, I'm not normal. There's some people who never take a look at themselves and keep doing it.
Yeah.
I would imagine the end result of that is a very bad burnout.
Yeah.
But for people like me who are in recovery, I can't afford to use my gift as a way to minimize my pain.
Yeah.
Because I'm a person that eventually, after unaddressed problems, eventually believe that I can drink liquor. And do drugs. And so I am grateful for my alcoholism in this season because it is the thing that has taught me that I can't operate in a retrogressive groove because it spells death to me.
Yes, it does.
Right?
Yes.
And so I can't afford to justify anger. I can't afford in this conflict to point the finger and blame you for, no, I have to take a look at myself. I have to sweep off my side of the street and I have to go make amends for the part I blame. That is the humility that is required in my life to keep my head above water. And that's why I'm thankful in 2005 when God wanted to save me, knowing what he had for me in the future, he took me somewhere that could teach me self. Teach me self-awareness. Teach me how to change the things I can and teach me how to know the difference between what I can't change and what I can change. Right? And it all came right here. Here's the truth. If I get in conflict, right, with somebody, no matter how much I justify it, with my mouth, with my buddies to try to make me feel better. In the back of my mind, the guilt comes from knowing I have a part that I've got to take a look at, that I've got to stop blaming other people and using people to try to justify what I did and actually clean my side of the street off. That's where my conscience becomes clear and I become okay.
Yeah. I mean, blame is really just a shovel for my guilt, man. That's all it is.
I can't remember what somebody said. It's an umbilical cord for something. Blame. Either way, whatever they said, it was pretty beautiful. But it says, most people try to live by self-proportion. Each person is like an actor who wants to run the whole show.
Most people are trying to
This is a description of self-will.
Yes.
He is like an actor who wants to run the whole show. Tell me what's wrong with that. The actor don't run the show. The actor is actually picked by the director and given a script to play the part that he designed for him.
That's it, man.
So think about a person that is a selfer. He tries to live by self-propulsion. He is like an actor who wants to run the whole show, is forever trying to arrange the lights, the ballet, the scenery, and the rest of the players in his own way. If his arrangements would only stay put, if only people would do as he wished, the show would be great.
Yep, it would be.
Dude, this is not a mentality or this. What we're reading right now is universal.
Yes.
Like when we first started, we talked about allergy of the body. We talked about mental obsession. That's not universal. You feel me?
Nope.
That's not universal. Like that is only a certain class of people that experience that, right? But now you're getting into step 3, which is universal.
Yes.
And what I'm reading is not descriptive of the alcoholic. It's descriptive of every person listening to me that's been born into sin.
Yes.
This is the root of the trouble.
Yeah.
Selfishness and self-centeredness is the DNA of sin.
Yep.
And so there's no person that is listening to what I say saying, I don't identify with that.
Yeah. Everybody does.
Right now, if you're identifying with this, it should bring you to Jesus, which is the propitiation for your sin that makes you right with God. Like this is the beginning of laying a foundation for a life. But when I read this, this should convict me to realize that I am this actor trying to play God. And I'm wearing shoes that are not my size. And I'm bound to rub blisters or trip and fall every time, right?
And it's exhausting. It's exhausting,
Listen,
man.
if only people would do as he wished, the show would be great. Everybody, including himself, would be pleased. Life would be wonderful. And trying to make these arrangements. Now, man, this right here, bro. In trying to make his, listen to me, see, in trying to make his arrangements, our actor may sometimes be quite virtuous.
Yeah.
The book of James says a man is double-minded, unstable in all his ways. This is what he's talking about. When I am living by self-will, I'm double-minded. And what am I doing? I'm trying to rearrange life to meet an instinct to get a reward, right? And here's what happens when it goes my way or when I'm in the pursuit of arranging it for an outcome. Is he not really a seeker when they've been trying to be kind? Listen what it says. He may be kind. That's a fruit of the Spirit. Considerate, patient, fruit of the Spirit, generous, fruit of the Spirit, even modest and self-sacrificing. These are replicas of what only the Spirit of God in me can produce. That is telling me that I can have a form of godliness without power.
Denying it.
Does it not say in the last days people will be worshipers of themselves? This is what you're starting to see is that I have the ability for a moment to produce what looks like kindness, but really isn't because there's a motive of why I'm doing it for an outcome to suit myself.
Counterfeit.
Well, listen, on the other hand, let it not go my way. Let somebody get what I wanted. Let something come up unexpectedly and cut me out of what I put in place. It says, on the other hand, he may be mean, egotistical, selfish, and dishonest, but as with most humans, he is more likely to have varied traits. What usually happens, the show doesn't come off very well. He begins to think life doesn't treat him right. Self-pity.
Yep.
City.
Yep.
You. He decides to exert himself more.
Yep.
I'm gonna pull myself up by the bootstraps.
Yep.
I'm gonna pick my ass up when it falls off.
Yep.
He becomes on the next occasion still more demanding or gracious, as the case may be.
Yeah.
Still, the play does not suit him. Admitting he may be somewhat at fault, he is sure that other people are more to blame.
Yep.
He becomes angry, indignant, self-pity. And listen to this, see. What is his basic trouble? Is he not really a self-seeker when even trying to be kind?
Yep.
Is not my motive of everything I'm doing got to do with me?
Yep.
Bro, is he not a victim
Yes.
of the delusion that he can wrest satisfaction and happiness out of this world if he only manages well?
Yeah.
Is it not evident to all the rest? Now listen, it's a problem when you are the only one that don't know it.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm selfish and self-centered, and everybody knows it but me.
Yep.
Listen to this. Is it not evident to all the rest of the players that these are the things he wants? And do not his actions make each of them wish to retaliate, snatching all they can get out of the show? Is he not, even in his best moments, a producer of confusion rather than harmony? Our actor is self-centered, egocentric, as people like to call it nowadays. He is like the retired businessman who loyals in the Florida sunshine in the winter, complaining of the sad state of the nation. The minister who sighs over the sins of the 20th century. Politicians and reformers who are sure all would be utopia if the rest of the world would only behave. The outlaw safecracker who thinks society has wronged him, and the alcoholic who has lost all and is locked up. But listen to this. Whatever our protestations, you know what that word means?
Find out.
This is going to change this entire thing. It's a simple definition. Whatever our protestations,
an emphatic declaration that something is or is not the case.
Are not most of us concerned with ourselves, our resentments, or our self-pity? Think about what he just said.
Yep.
He's talking about a minister sighing over the sad state of the nation.
Yeah.
Or the minister who sighs over the sins of the 20th century.
Yeah.
Is not most of us, our protestations, a concern of ourselves, resentment, and self-pity?
Yep.
Is it really a declaration of what breaks God's heart? Or is it really something I talk about because it concerns me?
Yep. How it makes me feel.
That's where it goes on to say, selfishness, self-centeredness, that we think is the root of our troubles.
Yeah.
You got troubles? It leads back to this word.
Yes.
Driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, and self-pity, we step on the toes of our fellas and they retaliate.
Yeah.
We've never really thought that the retaliation of somebody towards me that hurt me started with me.
Yeah. No. We're not wired to think like that either, though.
But think about what we're being educated to understand is that while I see the conflict, I've never taken a look at that fear started the ball rolling, that afforded, that stepped on the toes of my fellas, and they're retaliating. I just never went any further than what they did to me that hurt me. I never took a look at how I keep getting put in the position to be hurt like that.
Hurt. Over
and so guess what?
over.
I never really truly forgive in a way that frees me.
That's right.
How many people forgive according to the transgression, the offense?
Yeah.
I forgive you for cussing me out. But you could never really truly have a true forgiveness until you look at the thinking and emotion that keeps getting you connected with people that hurt you, that continue to make you feel like you ain't somebody, and you keep trying to be something to somebody because of this broken part in your life. And so when you always just forgive based on transgression and you never go deeper to look at the thinking and the emotion that keeps getting you in these situations that really need to change, you always, in every season, find yourself battling the same battle.
Yes. Same problems, different day. We got to graduate to some different problems.
Well, I mean, Paul says that by this time you should be teachers, but you can't because you're too busy still drinking out of a bottle of the elementary truths of the gospel. And I feel like that people need to know that the time you've spent in church over the years does not fix that problem.
No.
The fact that you've been ordained and went to church or went to Bible college and got ordained and as a minister does not state that you have become a mature believer of the Lord. That don't come with time. That don't come with a plaque. That comes with education, being equipped, and doing the work.
That's it, man.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's important that we talk about this because I think this has, like, dude, I'm thinking to myself, like, this is it, bro.
Yeah.
Like, this is that truth that we took some hard knocks to learn that we're putting on display for free that can change people's life. That's why I do this podcast. Because I do believe that we have been through the crushing. The anointing we've been given has been through the hard times. We've been hidden and did the work and did this when there wasn't none of this involved. And this has afforded us the power to help others.
Yes. This started to show me too, man, how much expectation I place on other people. And you know, it's funny, like you say things like, I don't really expect nothing of nobody. I don't really. Well, here's the truth, man. Here's a good test for this. Go and tell the person or the people in your life what you expect of them. You won't do it because you know that coming out of your mouth how heinous it is. But so subconsciously, we place these expectations on people that they're never going to be able to meet. First of all, because they don't know. Second of all, because you know, even if you go tell them what you expect of them, how absolutely selfish, nasty, and disgusting that really is. And so you sit on the side of selfishness and play the part of poor me instead of coming to a place of understanding that all of the disappointment in your life, in my life, in his life, and in John Steezy's life has come from expectations we place on people, places, and things that never are even educated that we expect anything out of them in the first place, and we live disappointed lives. Jesus did not call us to live disappointed lives. He called us to live acceptable lives.
Yeah.
Upright lives. Victorious lives, man. And like the victory that y'all are looking for is coming through the crushing and the humility and the oil that comes from the Holy Spirit's influence on your selfishness. That's where this comes from. Let the Holy Spirit get in your life and start showing you. He can't do it because you won't let him do it. You won't let him show you. The Holy Spirit's an influencer that lives on the inside of you. He's a God. Well, there can only be one God. Let two gods try to go guide the same trip. They're going to be in constant conflict with each other because they're both thinking that they know the best way forward. Imagine that. I go hire a God. Well, I'm a God and you're a God, and both of us got the best godship. And so we're both conflicting with each other constantly because we think we both know the best way to go. We don't. Either the Holy Spirit knows what's best for my life, or I continue to know what's best for my life. And that's what this is talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And, you know, this is really the meat.
Yes.
You know,
this is what I talk about more than anything.
Yeah, no, this is the heart of what transformation is.
You know, this girl walked up there that night after like right before we started the service, and we were giving our chips out and stuff like that. And you gave her the mic, and she said she had a year or something like that, and you gave her the mic. And this really hit me when she said this, but you gave her the mic, and she said, I've been doing this for so long, back and forth, in and out, rehab, treatment, trying. And she said, I finally came to the conclusion, and God gave me the revelation that the whole time I had a step 3 issue. And it really hit me, man. Like, when we see guys women continue struggle, like, it might be a step 1 problem. It may, in fact, be a step 2 problem. But more than anything, it more often than not is a step 3 issue with alcoholics and non-alcoholics, with drug addicts and non-drug addicts. Like, it is the universal problem. I do not want the Holy Spirit to have domain and influence in my life. I want God's blessings, but I do not want God's plan for my life.
Yeah. So, you know, what we're saying is that the issue is not around us, it's in us.
In us, man.
It's a heart condition.
Yes.
Like, our problems stem from the condition
Bless you.
of our hearts.
Yeah.
So, as we continue this journey of talking about step 3, we hope that you can join us next time as we dive into even more deeper understanding of step 3.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Peace.
Sheesh.